Hello, Charlie TCG here. Welcome back to Looking Ahead, the series where I break down and analyze the meta, what's happening over in Japan, and how will it impact our one. Welcome to episode 100 of Looking Ahead. And I just want to say thank you so much for support. Over the past 2 years, we've spent really covering on this channel what really happens over Japan's metagame, really trying to understand, break down the meta, and hopefully give a good understanding about how the meta is really developing over there. So in today's video, I want to look at the benefits of actually understanding the Japanese metagame, looking at exactly how the meta really translate over to here. Is there any positives or negatives, or is there a time in which the best deck over Japan didn't really translate to the best deck for over us? So let's also see exactly what decks adapt and how the sort of new decks really come out from looking at post-rotation and understanding it to a greater level. And also, we got a ton of brand new cards got revealed, and one of them I am super excited for. So without further ado, and again, thank you so much for support, let's jump right into the video. So of course, I want to look at these new sort of cards that got revealed from the owners cards, which is really exciting. I didn't really expect any of these new cards to be revealed. And it focuses on Ethan as well as also Misty. And Ethan, I love this engine. So if we look at Ethan's Ho-Oh EX, it is a really great sort of ability, Golden Flames. Once during your turn, you may attach up to 2 basic fire energies from your hand to one of your bench Ethan's Pokemon. So which ones could we really attach them into? Well, you could attach to Ethan's sort of Ho-Oh, which has Shiny Feathers, 160 damage, and heal 50 damage from each of your Pokemon. That's not too bad. But let's look at Ethan's Macargo, which I think is definitely the main attacker in this deck. For 3 fire energies, 70 damage, discard up to 5 fire energies from its Pokemon, and its attack does 70 damage for each energies you discard this way. So if you discard 5 energies from Ethan's and Macargo, you can deal a huge 300 damage, which is absolutely insane. It can be powered up very easily. You obviously have an amazing ability as well, Melt and Flow. If this Pokemon has no energy attached to this one, it has a 0 retreat cost. So I definitely think the idea is you can just bounce between each sort of Macargo, Energy Accelerate, then Flight Summon Ethan's Ho-Oh, and some other great cards we're going to talk about a little bit later, because I think this is an absolutely amazing combo. So what some good support Pokemon this deck really has to offer? We have the likes of Ethan's Quilava, with the Adventure Bound ability, which is once during a turn, you may search your deck for an Ethan's Adventure, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck afterwards. We're going to mention that a little bit, but that's an amazing supporter card, which is really going to benefit the store archetype. We have Ethan's Typhlosion for 1 sort of fire energy, 40 damage, plus 60 more for each Ethan's Adventure in the discard. If you have all 4, you used all of them, you're doing basically additional 240 damage, so 280 is not too shabby at all for this Pokemon, especially as a good sort of one-off as well after having that support. There's some other Ethan's card that got revealed. It's the first ever Pichu card we've had since back in the Heart Gold era. So it does 30 damage, and then for 0 energies, and you get to draw a card. This is a great sort of baby Pokemon, definitely one of the most amount of damage it could do. Could be against the buddies as well, and you get to draw a card as well. So I really like this one. Misty also got revealed, and we haven't seen her EX version, or if there is going to be one, but I really like where the engine already settled. So Misty's Gyarados for 1 water energy does 70 damage, discard the top 7 cards of your deck, and the attack does 70 damage times around Misty's Pokemon discard in this way. So a way we sort of stack it, well, obviously we have the new Night Metagoza, which can sort of stack Silver Deck as well by putting one card in your hand on top of the archetype, but we also have this new Misty Psyduck, which I think is a really unique sort of card and works really well for synergy. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon is on your bench, you may discard the bottom card of your deck. If you do, discard all cards attached to this Pokemon and put it on top of your deck. So there's some sort of synergy as well. You can use it the likes of Night Stretch, kind of like bounce around, just have your bench your Misty Psyduck, chuck it on the top of the active on top of your deck. And if you discard at least sort of 4 of your Misty Psyducks, 4 times 70 is quite a huge amount of damage as well. Basically doing 280 damage on a single price Pokemon for 1 energy, which is great. Misty's Magikarp as well has this really good bench protection, preventing from all damage from and effects for attacks from opponent's Pokemon, so it's protected from the likes of Dragapult or even the likes of a Dragapult or Zoroark. So I really like the sort of protection it has. It's kind of like a fun sort of synergy archetype, which could work really well. We also have this as Ethan's Adventure, which I think is going to go absolutely amazingly. Pretty much make this Ho-Oh deck and sort of Macargo deck really skyrocket. It reminds me a lot of likes of Shin Power said. Search deck for up to 3 of any combination of Ethan's Pokemon and basic fire energy, reveal them and put them on top of your hand. This is obviously incredible. Sorry, put it into your hand. This is incredible. This is the best synergy it has for this one. Works well with Ethan's Ho-Oh. You can search for it and get the 2 fire energies. You can attach it to your Ethan's Macargo as well if you need to. This is absolutely just incredible. Really good synergy as well. Getting sort of these Ethan's Pokemon, getting those fire energies as well, and constantly streamline these attacks. And how we can reutilize all the energies, we have the reprint of Sacred Ash, which is a good sort of rata as well. Shuffle up to your 5 Pokemon, throw your discard pile and put it into your hand, which is really great for sort of recovering from all of these Pokemon sort of discarding. Now, I want to look at exactly why I sort of covered, why 2 years ago did I come up with the idea of doing looking ahead, and can I benefit and can I talk about still the post-rotation metagame? So first of all, I really want to see how the meta was going to develop. I wanted to understand the post-rotation. That's really kind of like the embedded sort of thing. That's what I love about this, what you guys love me to cover about. And one thing I have a huge passion for is to understand how the meta is evolving. How will it translate from even the mini set, which we get, which is only half of our sort of big release, or generally the full sort of rotation, which I really, really like. It gives us a good idea exactly what decks we need to start building. We get to see exactly what decks kind of increase. For example, I really love the likes of Dragapult and Archaludon. They've completely changed in the sort of post-rotation metagame. And as well to see how does it really translate over to our metagame. There's obviously some cases as well where some decks, which I did cover about over in sort of August sort of time, how the metagame is so different to us at times. And that's really interesting to see how the meta really translate. Could we see right now the likes of Dragapult really be the best sort of deck right now in post-rotation? Or could that completely change and have Raging Bolt and even the likes of Zoroark or Charizard skyrocket up to the top? So one of the big things that doesn't meta translate, the huge example I always talk about is the likes of Twilight Masquerade. This is when Dragapult was about 27% of the metagame. It was so powerful, so aggressive, but no one did really know where to partner with. And when it kind of got revealed for NAIC, it kind of dropped all the way from a 26% archetype with the latest Champions League with over 3,000 players to nearly a similar size to event, just a little bit smaller, and with only 5% of the metagame at NAIC. So we saw how much it didn't translate. Good example as well, it's likes of Regidrago being the most dominant archetype in Worlds and hasn't really disappeared from there. It was nowhere to be seen in the early stages of Shrouded Fable. It was more overshadowed from the likes of Charizard and Dusknoir, and it didn't really kind of go out there to a tail end. By then, when it was real, they had like Stellar Crown, so it didn't really have that time to develop, and that's where it really developed in our sort of format as well. Sometimes it does obviously work. The likes of how powerful Lugia is, Mew back in the day as well, it's also right now, I would say likes of Dragapult and Gardevoir translation over to our sort of format now, they're obviously still right at the top. So that's something which I think is really interesting, that some decks do actually translate across. One of the biggest things is looking at post-rotation, getting to understand about what decks really survive. And that's one thing I absolutely love about it. Some decks obviously will disappear. Some decks like Lugia, Regidrago, all those sort of decks are complete gone. So the sort of decks that kind of go around there, how exactly do they adapt? What sort of new decks really sort of impact the metagame? For me, it's the most exciting part of the year. I really love to understand exactly see what really goes well. If we look here right now at the sort of prismatic evolution sort of format, looking at the top 16 results from nearly over 4,000 events going into the city leagues, going before we had rotation, we can see how much sort of decks are really powerful. Raging Bolt was only a 4.1% archetype back then, and it obviously has changed so much now. We're seeing likes of Dragapult and Gardevoir right at the top here. We can see some of the decks which really have evolved and really won't be around anymore. It's the Harrow likes of that Cloth deck. Losing like some double turbo energy is really powerful. So we're seeing how much that's changed. And when we look at the first weekend of the post-rotation, we can see that some decks really have changed. Like some Dragapult and Raging Bolt and Charizard and Archaludon, their numbers have increased. They're much higher up than they were beforehand. And some other decks have really fallen down from the likes of Zoroark and Gardevoir. So again, we're seeing how this meta is really evolving. It's right early. It's very versatile. Another thing, we can see some new decks sort of come around, likes of the Hop Zacian as well, also Milotic. This brand new archetype really kind of sprouted out of nowhere, and I'd like to see how the meta is evolving. Now, of course, if we look at this week's, we can see the meta has changed completely again. Likes of Dragapult has gone all the way from a 20% archetype to a 26, and Raging Bolt went up just by a little bit of 1%. So nearly 50% of metagame is only two decks. For me, that's something which I'm really thinking about going to post-rotation metagame. How will this really translate over to us? They're going up to a Champions League right now. That's only this weekend. So that's something I'm really excited about to see and cover. What decks are really going to do well? Dragapult didn't lose too much things, and Raging Bolt has kind of evolved with a really powerful toolbox. Golden is also doing really well. It didn't really know the partner before. It's kind of like gone through many. It went through the likes of Palkia. It had that sort of limelight with like Togekiss, which I was really excited about and covered on the channel. That kind of disappeared. People realized actually Palkia is the best combination for this one. But now it's kind of going into either having Dragapult as a good partner or potentially sometimes even like Sizzle. Sizzle's a great single price Pokemon right now. If we're having a very huge short format which really relies on abilities, if Gardevoir's still going around, you know it doesn't have that many abilities, but if it's Monkey Dory, Gardevoir, it's a really good single pricer. Likes of Raging Bolt is coming much more of a wider sort of toolbox, but also Charizard and Archaludon, all these Pokemon around which do really well, are really reliant on abilities. So Sizzle is running rampant right now. Charizard numbers are still going down because it doesn't really know really where to find. It's lost a huge amount from just losing only like a couple cards, like the likes of losing Rotom, Forest Hill Zone, and Collapse Stadium. That's really powerful for its engine sort of thing. Yes, you had Thornton as well, so you can constantly get a Charizard out of nowhere, but that's really sort of beneficial for that sort of metagame. So we're seeing it change it completely. Gardevoir numbers have increased. People are realizing you should go more for either Secret Box or Brilliant Blender, a much faster approach. That's a great sort of way for how Gardevoir is evolving. You want to try and get your Gardevoir out turn 2, and having a Brilliant Blender discards loads of energies into this one, potentially either attacking with the likes of a Clefairy, which is great. If nearly 50% of the metagame is going to be now weak to Psychic Pokemon, you can use a single pricer right into this one, and that's really, really powerful for this deck. I love some other new decks have even come around. We had Feraligatr last week, the week before that we had Milotic, and now we have Slowking. This deck kind of came out of nowhere, and we talked about it a little bit a few weeks ago and expanded, but it's a really good single price attacking option. It can utilize some of these great attacks like Conkeldurr, find a new home for likes of Regigigas, as well as also Kyurem, which is amazing for this style of deck. And I'm really excited to see that there's some new decks really here to stay, and I hope that really does continue. Also, we have some other brand new archetypes like Lily's Clefairy. I believe that what that one is, as well as also the likes of Zoroark. We're seeing Zoroark be pretty much the best owners Pokemon right now. The Dragapult is really, Archaludon is really focused more of having Zacian as its another sort of attacking option. So Zoroark is really kind of like hit to stay. It's really relying now on evolving from going from like the Petron build, which I covered on my channel a few days ago on my for the casting video. I really appreciate if you kind of go into this one. I put a lot of effort into that sort of video, and hopefully I could do more of these sort of casting post-rotation videos in the future. So I love we're seeing these sort of new decks really sort of evolve, really change. So like I said, go from the Petron sort of Belgian Man more reliant on the sort of the reversal energies, and maybe even had like a Luxray in this one, or definitely attacking with Duramatam, try and go that single prize archetype. So I love this one. We're seeing the metagame still evolve constantly, and that's one of the things I love about covering that over in Japan. So another thing is this huge deck building. We get to see exactly what is kind of changing from week to week to week. We get a good sort of understanding about how we want to build any post-rotation, and more importantly, how decks adapt. So like I'm saying, I'm looking at the difference between current Regibolt and Archaludon to see how they've adapted in the post-rotation, because they have kind of had the huge sort of changes, unless the likes of Gardevoir. We also have what exactly players are being creative. We're seeing some amazing sort of players in City League. Yes, I know they're kind of equivalent of a League Cup, but we're seeing the meta constantly evolving. Yes, we see some of the top decks as well, like the Dragapult, as well as also Raging Bolt. But we're seeing some other decks get thrown in. Like I mentioned, having that Slowking, having Feraligatr, having Milotic. We also had some other amazing sort of archetypes kind of like spring up, like a Mammothswine getting quite a few wins this sort of weekend. So is that sort of deck we need to keep in our radar for some rogue archetypes? So we look at some of these newer decks here, which can actually still be played in this current format. We look at Feraligatr, an amazing sort of post-rotation, really easy to understand sort of deck. You've realized from likes of Relicanth to use some of its previous sort of evolution's abilities, having likes of Crawdon to switch into the one in the bench, like popping out a Mimikyu to really wall out the opponent's Pokemon, having a total as well, that 10 damage, and then again, making sure they can't retreat. Doesn't seem a lot, but when you use Feraligatr's ability, put 5 damage counters on this, and you do additional 120 more, all of a sudden, you're nearly two-shotting everything in the format. Munkidori to move around their energies around there. Damage counters, because you're only ever going to have one energy attached for Alligator. So I really, really like the style of play. Having like a Sentinel to actually heal you, having some really good sort of play as well, getting that Chorus to actually get out your Stadium card to actually evolve straight into Alligator, as well as also getting out Luminous Energy, which you might need to attach to a Munkidori. This is some great sort of synergy as well, seeing these some newer sort of archetypes. Another new one, exactly just from this week and alone, it's this Slowking. I've seen a lot of Japanese content creators talking about this one. I've seen it kind of pop up on sort of a ladder. I've seen people actually kind of discuss about this one, because this deck here, I really think is here to stay, and it is so powerful. I mentioned before, I always call it nighttime Mezzagosa, but it's great. You get to put a card on your hand on top of your deck. And you have some 3 amazing sort of attackers. This one, so also Zoroark as well, which is really, really powerful as well. Kyurem to do so much damage counters everywhere. Regigigas to pretty much one-hit KO any of these scary Terra Pokemon as well. Conkeldurr as well to 250 damage. It is so scary and so powerful how the single price archetype can really work. Yes, you have a couple 2 prices as well. Versatility for great draw factor, having that Latias to kind of have that free retreat in the early sort of stages, well, Squawk ability to kind of like get it moving as well. But you can pretty much reliantly not have these out and play. I really love having those R2 as well. I think great sort of way to actually have that energy acceleration. You attach into Slowking and have an inbuilt draw factor. Really powerful. I've seen Maxrod really kind of have its time to shine right now. Kind of bringing in 4 sort of Pokemon or special, sorry, 5 Pokemon or energies from your discard pile into your hand. This is great. You get your Psychic energies after you discard them for likes of Kyurem. You get your Slowkings again. You get your Pokemon to use again. This is so fun. This is such a great sort of synergy when it's really evolving and adapting in Japan. We're seeing these new archetypes kind of spread out, and hopefully this really does continue in sort of the rest of the post-rotation format. As well as also Milotic as well. Milotic, an amazing sort of aggressive sort of wall serve deck. It's not really a stalling sort of archetype. You have some great attackers. You have Konosuma's Ogerpon to like wall out from any Pokemon with abilities, Milotic to wall out from Terra Pokemon, and Frigoraph to wall out from basics. So pretty much all of that. You have protection against most of the field right now. So I really like this one. Having the TM evolution means you can get out your Frigoraph and your Milotic in much more of an ease. You have some good healing potions as well. You also have the likes of a Rockguard as well to actually protect your guys as well, walling out some extra sort of Pokemon as well. Eerie as well for that good discarding factor. This is a really interesting sort of wall deck. And when you kind of have all of them out in play, it's very scary to certain archetypes to actually deal with this one and a huge threat and try and rely on their bosses, which only really people play like 1 or 2. So I really like the sort of synergy for the deck. Now let's actually look at the best sort of decks right now in the format, Dragapult. And how much has it really changed? Well, we've lost some good sort of key cards. We've lost the likes of Lance, we've lost Rotom, we've lost Luminion, we've lost Forest Seal Stone, likes of Temple of Sinnoh. So how exactly have we adapted? Well, we're adding the likes of Hawlucha. Hawlucha is great to get rid of those 70 HP basic Pokemon, getting rid of extra Dreepies, getting rid of the Charmander, Strokes, pays Hawlucha down. It's pretty much equivalent of having that extra 10 damage you might play with, especially when you think about the likes of what you could do with having Radiant Alakazam. So I love that sort of play. Having Jacq, pretty much guarantee you can get your either your Dragapults, your Dracloaks, even your Dusclops or Dusknoir, which I really like this one. We're still seeing Crispin, and this one places new card Brock, which searches into a deck for either an evolved Pokemon or having 2 basics. So again, we're seeing some sort of fun synergy in the style archetype. If we're seeing a lot more Dragapults and like Raging Books in the top, they really rely on tool cards. So potentially a Jamming Tower is a great sort of way to slow them down. Still having Badooka, I think that's still the best sort of way at the start. And even having the likes of a Bravery Charm as well to protect your Dusclops on the bench so they don't easily get sniped in a mirror match. I really like the synergy of Dragapult. It hasn't changed too much, but the cards which it has, this gets even more stronger. But Gardevoir has completely changed. We can see here, gone over the likes of having those really aggressive 4/4 2 lines of Gardevoir. We have to rely on now a 4/2 line of Gardevoir. Having other curling, which doesn't really benefit you, so you rely on likes of rare candies to get it out as quickly as possible. I mentioned Brilliant Blender, discarding some cards as well. Nice Treasure becomes even more crucial because you can actually bring back some good sort of Pokemon cards which you could discard with Brilliant Blender. I love this one. Having obviously Clefairy as well, a great sort of attacking option, especially in Raging Bolts for matchup. Giving all your Psychic Pokemon getting instantly 1-hit KO your Raging Bolts for no sort of weakness, which is amazing. Whereas also having the amazing sort of factor, you could have the Lily's Pearl on this one to make it sure it's a single prize Pokemon. I really like how Gardevoir is really evolving. Lots of people kind of like dreaded Gardevoir, think it's not really good play in post-rotation because it lost so many sort of good key cards like the Cresselia, like Radiant Greninja for good support, and of course the Refinement Gardevoir, Curlier, but we are still seeing that Gardevoir has lost constant piece after piece after piece in post-rotation. It's still here to stay and still winning countless tournaments. Now let's actually look at what current Raging Bolt looks like. We're seeing that it's very fast, very aggressive. It has some good sort of key cards as well, which is obviously not, which we've seen rotate. Having Trekking Shoes, having Pokestop, having Radiant Greninja. You're drawing for your deck so quickly. So when you look at what a winning list as well from this week, we can see here it is completely different. It plays 3 different types of Ogerpon. Cornerstone Master Ogerpon is appearing much more as a staple in Raging Bolt style decks. It's really slowing down the opponent's side. But also, it's a great attacking option. Most decks are running like Crispin right now. You're already running Fight Energy, so chuck it in this, and you can have a really good attacking option a couple turns later. You're not always attacking with Raging Bolt on your first turn, doing over 300 damage. You're going much slower. So you could even attack for a Rotom, doing that extra 70 damage, softening out a Pokemon, or generally KOing it outside of your opponent's Dreepies or stuff like that. It even plays a Terra Orb, which is great. Also the Cornerstone, the Mask for Ogerpon, switching out your Ogerpon, which I really like. And even attacking with the likes of the other Ogerpon as well, just energy accelerating to this one, having Crispin, having the other Ogerpons as well. I think this is such a powerful, such a unique way of approach of how Raging Ball is really adapting right now. So I think that's something which is amazing. Another thing is, look at Archaludon. If we see this is the winning list of the latest Champions League in our sort of current format as well, we can see here it has lost quite a few really good key cards. Fortunate as well to obviously so you can actually utilize your Archaludons multiple times, but also your Dialga, your main sort of attacking option. You've really had to rely on this one to get these huge one-hit KOs. So looking at how it's trying to adapt it now, it is running the likes of the Zacian, because Zacian is an amazing sort of attacking option. You can still rely on sort of the good sort of hop sort of acceleration cards, like having Postwick, the Choice Belt, and the Snorlax. Arguably, say this is sort of a hop sort of deck, but it plays a 3/3 line of Archaludon, still plays the Churro, so it has a good sort of role as a good attacking option, but it's evolved more from going to be an attacking option and defensive to be much more of a support Pokemon and relying on it kind of like setting up other Pokemon. So again, is this the best way to play Archaludon, or has it become more of a hop sort of Zacian deck? So I really, really like how these sort of decks, these big powerhouses of the current format, have really adapted into this post-rotation. So another thing is, let's actually look at the Champions League. We are just a few days away from the biggest post-rotation event. Quite a few players in our sort of circuit are flying out there. I am so excited to see exactly what new cards get revealed, what decks really benefits one. And I kind of really think that Dragapult and Raging Bolt will be the most played archetype. They're really currently dominating the Champions League. Raging Bolt has pretty much won nearly double the amount nearly everyone else's one. So I can really see that go up at the top. Which owners Pokemon will come out on top? For me personally, I really like Zoroark. I think Zoroark is in an absolutely great space right now. It's really good because it has that slower sort of approach. If you're, as long as you have your Dramatam stay out for quite a bit longer, which right now they can, but can really struggle against like the Dragapult, I think you're in a really good sort of spot to see that kind of go up to the top. Or if you kind of go for more a defensive sort of approach, like a Archaludon, I really think that's where like Zacian V, Hop Zacian can really kind of go showcase right now. Or even if you have a Lily's Clefairy, work really sort of well in the likes of Gardevoir. What really will, how will what's really changed the post-rotation metagame? Will we see some other decks really do dominate right over there? Could we see a different way how people are playing likes of Dragapult? Could we see some more innovation in likes of Raging Bolt? We saw it become much more of a toolbox for Ogre. Could that really be seen away, and how we're going to be playing Raging Bolt going forward? And could this impact our format right now? Obviously, we don't get post-rotation. We don't get this new format until like at least April time. So we still have a couple sort of weeks, but could some of these other sort of decks, like some Milotic, like Slowking, like any of these Fraligator decks, really kind of like translate over to us and dominate in this sort of pattern? Because most of those cards are completely right now in our format right now, so it doesn't change too much. So that's one thing which I really like. That's a benefit as well from understanding this meta. And if we look at what some people think, we always look at this sort of graph before Big Champions League, we can see that what they think are some of the best decks right now are the likes of Charizard, Dragapult, and Raging Bolt. Outside of this one, the likes of Archaludon, having this sort of the likes of Gardevoir, and Zoroark, Serralege, as well as also for Alligator, and on the outskirts as well, seeing like the Slowking, because I really think that is a great sort of play right now. Having this huge sort of Lily's Clefairy sort of style deck, relying on them, likes of Tiamat Ogre, and likes of Ancient Box. That is still a deck right now, but losing some quite good of sort of aggressive decks, like having some of Trekking Shoes or potentially the likes of Pokestop, it's much, much slower. And having Hop Zacian as well, I really like that sort of deck, but I don't think it's as strong as it really sort of gives it credit. So hopefully you guys have really enjoyed this video, really understand exactly why I got into this one. I love covering Japanese sort of metagame, and I hope to do this for another 200 odd episodes. And again, thank you so much for the support. One other thing I want to say, what do you think will win the Champions League? Could we see the newer decks really kind of like shine through? Could we see likes of End Zoroark or this new Slowking deck really kind of like dominates in this way? Or are we expecting likes of a Dragapult or a Raging Bolt deck to really completely dominate in that sort of sense? Or what is the next new rogue deck going to be? We've seen a new rogue deck pop up nearly week after week after week. Could we see Concord do well? Could we see like some Mammoth Swine as well? I really like how the metagame is still so fresh right now in Japan. It hasn't really solidified this one, but after this weekend, I think we're going to have a great sort of understanding about where the post-rotation metagame is really kind of going with this one. So hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Again, thank you so much for the support on over 100 episodes. I really guys hope you have enjoyed this video. My name is TCG, and I'll see you guys later. Bye for now.